If there's one thing I can be sure of, is that I will overestimate what I can bully my brain into doing. I used to always do a monthly TBR, and in the last few years I've really struggled to stick with that. I have found that I have become quite a mood reader. I like to pick up shiny new things, and my brain just isn't braining how it used to. Add to that a big long period where I really struggled to read anything ebook related or anything on a screen. I could only pick up physical and audio for a while. Despite that, I did not stop requesting books that I was interested in on Netgalley. So this year, I'm starting Project 80%. I am not foolish enough to believe I will get my rating to 80% by the end of the year, but I want to be a lot closer than I currently am. Where do I currently stand? On Netgalley, I currently have 117 books waiting for me to review them, and my feedback ratio 32%. So this year, come along with me on this journey. Join me if you are also finding yourself slightly overwhelmed by your approved books, and let's get our feedback rating higher by the end of 2025. This is episode 1. Okay, so I am about 50% of the way into Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. This is so interesting. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it would follow Noah as he went back to his family home, and then it all kind of spiraled from there and got a bit out of control. But that does happen, but it happens within just a few chapters, and then we go back. So this happens at the beginning. Noah goes back, it's like the week before Christmas, a few days before Christmas, and everything happens within like 24 hours. It all goes absolutely crazy, and then we go back to like the beginning of November and watch how the devolution happened, and it's just such an intriguing way to do it. I'm really enjoying the way it's written, in terms of it feels very loosey goosey. It feels very informal. This is the first I've read by Clay McLeod Chaplin, so I don't know if this Clay McLeod Chapman. So I don't know if this is his writing style. I'm very intrigued to pick up some more by him now. But yeah, it feels quite kind of informal and casual in terms of the writing style. I don't know if that makes sense. I'll put up maybe an example if I can find one. And we follow various characters, and it jumps between all of the characters, and we watch like how they all just kind of lose the plot a little bit. And it's one negative I would say at this point is each of the characters does not have like their own voice. So each of the characters, it's very hard to do, I'm aware of this, but I like it when I read books that have different characters and they sound like different characters, like they're written like different characters. I wouldn't say that that's the case in this so far, and we are following a lot of characters as well. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I think it's a very hard thing to pull off, and possibly for a lot of people it doesn't even matter. I'm always hoping for books that can pull that off. It's very interesting how these characters, because they're all different ages, so we're actually in the go back in like the where it's doing the flashbacks, we're not actually following Noah's parents, who are the ones at the beginning of the book when he goes back to visit them for Christmas. We're following his brother, his sister-in-law, and their children. So we flick between all 4 of them, and they're various ages, obviously. So we have the mum and the dad, we have a 15 or 16-year-old, and then we have a 7-year-old, I think. And I think that Clay McLeod Chapman captures the ages quite well in his writing. I think that's done extremely well, and I really find it interesting how they were all pulled into this extremely right-wing way of thinking, and this they were all kind of pulled into this cult through different avenues, and how it's how how a cult can appeal to something about you. So it almost I'm using the term cult because it's the only thing I can think of at the moment, but it approaches each of the members of the family differently and kind of zones in on things that made them insecure or uncomfortable, anything like that. And that is what a good quote unquote cult does. And I think that that's been captured really, really well. It's very readable, this book. You can kind of zoom through it. I realized that it was actually available as a option for the Libro FM, the ALC program. So I picked it up there so I can flip between the ebook and the audio, which has been a good experience. And the audio is actually a full cast as well, so it's very well worth doing if that is something that you enjoy doing. So far, I'm really enjoying Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. It's not fully what I thought it would be. It's kind of given me more, which is not a negative thing. It is like a pandemic-esque thing that happens, and it captures people via various social media and news channels and things like that. It's like a virus, basically. There was some of this that I really loved, and some of this that I thought could have done with a little bit more discussion. Obviously, I am British. I live in England. My view of American politics is from a English person's lens, obviously, but I do feel like there are some parts that Clay McLeod Chapman could have delved into a bit more. I think that the lack of I mean, he obviously in a book you can't encompass everything, and he chose to focus his book on how social media and the news takes people down this pipeline, in particular like those in the wellness industry or those that are like part of the incel movement. They're like ripe pickings for these kind of things to happen. I do feel like we could have done with at least a nod to the fact that religion and religious places can also be quite ripe for picking people into these viewpoints and things like word of mouth and stuff like that, because I do think that a lot of the time people like to sensationalize that it is social media that's doing this. I mean, the fact that TikTok is likely to be taken down in America, it harks to this, that people often in the right, far right sphere like to blame things on social media. His book is very much sensationalizing that, and that can be both a positive and a negative. But when we look at the horror of it and how it works as a horror book, I thought it was really, really good. It is very detailed in the gore, which is quite fun. There are some very creative deaths and ways of dying in here. I liked watching the devolution of people's mental stability, and I really enjoyed the ending of it as well. I liked how he ended it. There, he does fall into a trope that I don't really like, and I don't like it in any horror media. It is very, or was very prevalent in film, horror films. I hate it, and that is using a older woman's body as a scare, which no, I'm not a fan of at all. Apart from that, I I thought it was a really good book, and I definitely want to pick up more by him. So please let me know any that I should pick up next. It was a ride. It was a ride. This is what Flora's going through. Her baby cannot latch properly, so she is exclusively pumping, which adds an extra element to it because that is hard work. And so she has to be making sure 24/7 that she has milk available for her child. She's up during the night, she's pumping, she's getting pains and mastitis. She is going through it, and she is on her own. And then she starts thinking about her mum a lot. I think this is quite a common thing as well. When you have a child, you start thinking about your mum. And so she does reach out to her mum via email, and she knows she probably shouldn't. Her husband and her dad are always like, just don't even talk about her, don't even think about her, like, you know, she's out of your life. She reaches out to her mum via email, and then the next day her mum turns up on her doorstep with a bag and is like, hey, you need help, I'm here to help. So we have this position for Flora where she desperately needs the help, but she's being offered it from the person that she knows is probably not the best person to have around her, but overall she needs the help. And if this is an opportunity to reconnect with her mum, she's going to take it. So she invites her mum in, and then dark things start happening. Flora starts losing big stretches of time. She's doing things, she's making dinner but doesn't remember doing it, these various things. Her mum starts taking more and more care of the baby. I'm going to need to double check baby's name. Iris. So her mum starts taking more care of Iris, and Flora feels like she has no clue what's going on. And whilst this is happening, she finds I think it's a hippo's tusk in a box of stuff that was sent to her from her mum years and years and years ago. And her mum says, oh, your dad's got that for you when you were a baby. It's supposed to like ward off evil spirits. She put it under the crib. So Flora does that because she starts worrying that there's evil spirits coming for Iris, and she just basically spirals and spirals. And her mum becomes more and more dangerous and someone that can't be trusted. And there's a large section of the book where you just don't know if it's Flora's sort of sleep deprived mind coming up with these things, or if her mum is actually someone that's quite dangerous and shouldn't be around her child. And it goes from there, and then it goes even crazier. Like, I was around the 40% mark, I would say, and I was like, okay, like, I've read a few books about a mum coming in and it turns out she's a little bit dangerous, and they can go one of, you know, they can either be something I really love or something that just does not work for me at all. So I was a bit and ahhing, but then it went crazy, and I was, oh my god, I was on the edge of my seat, metaphorically, towards the end of the book. It just had so many, I'm going to say the word twist because I can't think of another word, but there were so many bits that I just was like, how did I not see this coming? Or what is this author on? But it all worked so well. And overall, I loved this book. I loved it. We're about halfway through The Haunting Between Us. Let me take them off to stop the glare. And I'm loving this. It's so cute. So it is a YA gay or queer horror, well, like horror fantasy, and I love it. Well, do you know what? It's a horror, but on Goodreads, no, on Storygraph, they have it listed as fantasy, not horror. That's weird. I'm going to update that because it should definitely have horror on the list as well. So we follow 16-year-old Cameron, who lives next door to this, like, the town's haunted house. You know, one of those houses that all the town has rumours about, and it's rumoured to have the white woman or the white lady that lives there. And there's all this discussion, like all of these stories from what happened at the house. There was a girl who grew up there and she was not fully there in the head in the Victorian era, and then her dad was killed under mysterious circumstances, you know, various things like that. And Cameron has lived next door to it his whole life. It's always been abandoned. He went in there once on a dare and got injured to the point he has a big scar on his leg from it. So he and the house, they're not buddies, they're not friends. And then a 16-year-old boy, Hugo, moves in with his dad. His dad is a house flipper, so they move like every 6 months or so, and they move into this one. And him and Cameron become friends, and they very quickly, it's so obvious that they like each other. It's like dual POV, and they're both like too embarrassed. Well, not embarrassed, but Cameron has quite low self-esteem, and he's openly out Oh no, his dad doesn't seem to believe that he's gay, and Cameron has like approached a few guys, and it's all they've always had like a reason or an excuse as to why they're not interested in Cameron. So he has very low self-esteem. And then Hugo is so used to being moved every 6 months that he doesn't make an effort to make friends. There's no point him pursuing anything romantic because they're never going to stay in one place for very long because his dad's going to move them to flip another house. And then when they move into this house, which people call the Crimson House, his dad acknowledges that this is going to be a big job, so maybe they'll be there for like a year and a half. So Hugo starts feeling a little, cautiously optimistic that he might be able to finish a school year somewhere and actually make friends. So he gets invited into like Cameron, and Cameron's got a very close knit group of friends, and Hugo gets invited into that group of friends, and it's just really lovely. So you have this lovely story of them like opening up to each other, Hugo learning to let people in, Cameron's trying to um, like not be so self-deprecating all the time. And then we have the haunting in the house, which gets very aggressive, and Hugo finds this like hidden room, and they start to unravel the stories of the house and what really happened. And one of Cameron's friends, so Cameron's best friend Abby, has a ghost hunting YouTube channel, and one of his other friends, Chloe, is she has like this gift that's come down from her grandmother, that she can pick up like psychic vibrations and things of ghosts. So she usually goes on a ghost hunts with them, and she has dreams that are usually like premonitions almost. And she has a dream of Hugo and Cameron in the house, and they are intertwined with the house somehow. So we're trying to work out that at the same time. It's just a lovely story so far. It's reminded me a little of like, what was that? The Haunting of and the cover has the boy on the front. Hang on. So many books are called The Haunting of something. Jake, was it The Haunting of Jake? I'll have to look it up. It'll be in my read. I think I read it last year. No, it would have been the year before. Gosh, time's gone. It's reminded me of this book, which I really love. Jake Livingston, is that it? Livingston. But it's reminded me of this in a good way. It's reminded me of Cemetery Boys, again in a good way. It's like a story, a love story between two young boys, and it's on the backdrop of something supernatural, and I love that. And oh yeah, this is so good. I picked this up on a whim when I was doing my Netgalley requesting that I shouldn't have been doing, and I'm so pleased I did. Okay, so I finished The Haunting Between Us. Is that what it's called? I can't actually remember what it's called. Yeah, The Haunting Between Us. Why am I doubting that? This was quite a fun journey. It was, I think it's a really, really good like intro to horror for teens, like YA. The queer representation was fabulous. So we have our main couple that are both identify as gay, and then in their friendship group we have a lesbian couple, we have someone who's non-binary, we have someone who is a romantic, a questioning, and so I just think it's really good representation across the board of like queer identities, especially as teenagers. And they do have a little touch of like bullying from people at school, but mostly this is quite an accepting kind of world that they've built for themselves. But yeah, so we have Hugo and Cameron. So Hugo has at the prior to the start of the book has not come out to his dad because he's moved around so much. It's just he's not really had any chance to have a romantic relationship. And then when him and Cameron get together, he wants to tell his dad, and in the process he has to come out to his dad. His dad's really supportive of it. And then we get Cameron, who has come out to his parents like 4 or 5 years prior to the start of this book, but his dad's really like struggling to accept it, and always makes comments about like when Cameron has his best friend Abby over, he's always like, oh, leave the door open, and Cameron's like, yeah, I will, but really there's no need, like, I'm gay, Dad. um so when Cameron says, hey, this is my boyfriend Hugo, his dad really struggles with it. So I think it was quite interesting to show the difference in how the parents react to their sons telling them that they're gay. And then we have the like the ghost story, the haunting element of the story, which was just really, really fun. There was quite a few kind of like gasp moments when I was like, oh, I did not expect that. And I feel like, look, I watch a lot of horror films and I read a lot of horror books, and I do often feel like nothing, it's not that there's nothing new, but like there's rarely like a new concept. It's just what you do with it that can be different. And I feel like this author did really well with a horror story and a haunting story, and it was very much like the house and the history of the house and the people that used to be there, and like these kids are like a Scooby gang trying to unravel the secrets. And it did fall under like a few issues that YA books have to fall under, unfortunately, of like the how do we get rid of the parents so the kids can be doing these things. um so for instance, like Hugo and his dad flip houses. That's what Hugo's dad does. And they move into this house, and his dad's like, I've sunk all of our savings into this has to work out, we have to flip this and it has to work out. But then every other weekend, his dad is just going away for the weekend, like to do other jobs, like going off to be a carpenter somewhere else or whatever. And I understand they need the cash, but at the same time, why is he not working on this house that he needs to flip? It doesn't, it doesn't logically make a lot of sense. But you have to accept these kind of things. It's the same in like teen shows. Like the parents always have to be written out somehow. Um, so yeah, I did find that quite funny. It is an expected thing that has to happen in these kind of scenarios. This is the author's second book, I believe, and I did enjoy it. I do feel like it really could have done with a little bit more tidied up editing wise. I feel like there was quite a few sections where the dialogue was a little bit stilted, which really could have done with a little bit of tweaking. But overall, like the core plot and the characterization and the atmosphere the book was building was so good that I could easily look past those couple of moments where I was like, oh, it kind of started me out of the story, which in a book that didn't have, well, the other elements weren't working so well, I might have just put the book back down and been like, oh, this isn't for me. So yeah, the author has another book coming out. I think it might even be this year or at the end of this year or beginning of next year. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the characters, and I would say like the last third of it was really like go 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 go. I really enjoyed it. This is the most recent new release by Eric LaRocca. It came out on the 28th of January, and I am a big Eric LaRocca fan. I just think he writes horror and grief horror in particular very, very well. And this one is very much a grief horror book. So we follow our main character Ash, I believe, and he has recently lost his wife due to cancer, and a year or two, I think it's 2 years, and 2 years prior to the start of the book, his son was kidnapped, and he has been spiraling in absolute depression ever since. and the only thing keeping him alive is that he's, you know, living on the hope that his son will still be found. And he has turned to body modification as a way of dealing with his grief, which is quite a common thing. So he has a lot of piercings, in particular facial piercings, so he looks a certain way, and that definitely scares a lot of people off. And he has discovered this this like project he does that helps people who are considering or have suicidal ideation, helps them to realize that life is worth living. And these are often people with immense grief over different things. And as I said, this book is an entire exploration of grief and how different people deal with it, and how it can affect people in various different ways, and like how we hold the grief in ourselves, and how it manifests, and it can manifest straight away or over time and things like this. And so he has come up with this thing where people pay him and he buries them in a coffin for half an hour, and then when he brings them back up, they have a new kind of appreciation for life. And before he buries them, he has them write out like a will and testament and all of this kind of stuff. So they really kind of go through various different stages of grief and acceptance, and then they basically reawaken, and when he digs them back up, they have a new appreciation for life and living. Ash finds his clients on a message board or a chat room, which is very reminiscent of Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, which is the book of Eric LaRocca's that was like his debut traditionally published work, I think. And if you've read Eric LaRocca before, or if you haven't, he's quite well known for his short stories. He's very good at writing short story collections that really like pack a punch. He did release his first like long form novel last year, which was called Everything the Darkness Eats, and this one is kind of like a hybrid. So the book itself is, I think, around 200 pages, so it's still we're still looking at novella-esque page length, but it's like one overarching story of Ash, and then characters in it tell horror stories within it. So they share stories of things that have happened to them, or stories they found online and stuff. So I think it's a really, really, really good way for Eric LaRocca to explore the idea of like a longer story, but he's still got his signature short horror that packs a punch like throughout. And I just thought it was really good how he approached this story, and the grief of it all was very good. It was all quite emotional, especially with the fact that it involves terminal illness and missing children. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I really loved it. Tell me why I was excited the whole time for a full-on menage a trois. I wanted it to be a relationship amongst the three of them, and sadly it was not that. I am a big fan of books that are more character studies. Some of my favourite books of all time I will describe as almost plotless. So this isn't a style that I am not a fan of. And honestly, I really enjoyed this. I enjoy S.T. Gibson's writing style. I enjoy the way they write about relationships and people. And for me, this was actually quite a hit. It wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I initially wanted from the book, but I enjoyed what I got. I actually really enjoyed this. So this is a horror, and we follow I think Vietnamese American girl who or woman who is currently in college. And when we join her and her family, her dad has left her mum, which is very shameful for her mum to have to go through. And our main character Jiwa and her sister now have to accept a man that their mum has started dating, kind of out of the blue, and their mum is jumping full on into the relationship, probably because of the shame that she feels for not being married anymore and not being in a relationship. Um, and the man that she started dating, George, is a white man with a absolute Asian fetish, and he doesn't hide it at all. And he is a massive pervert, and he makes the girls or the daughters very uncomfortable with the way he talks about everyone basically around them. He used to live in Korea, and he thinks that he is like a expert in all things Korean, especially Korean food. So he takes them to Korean restaurants and shows them the best experiences, like the most authentic experience you can get, and it's just not. And he just basically ogles the Korean waitresses, and he's just gross. In this time, Jiwa has to make her mum happy. She eats the eye on their fish dinner, which their mum says is the best part and it's supposed to bring you good luck. And their mum is always offering it to them. And Jiwa and her sister are like, no, that's repulsive. And then one time, Jiwa eats it just to like make her mum happy. And then she starts to become really obsessed with the idea of eating eyeballs, and not just fish eyeballs. She becomes really obsessed with the idea of eating human eyeballs. And George has these bright blue eyes, and Jiwa cannot stop thinking about them, and she just dreams about them and nightmares about them. And she's curious, will blue ones taste different, like brown eyes and stuff? And she just becomes obsessed. And we slowly start to learn what happened with her and her like high school group of friends, who we know that they were very close knit, and something happened which split them apart, and all this slowly starts to come to light. And it is just a very interesting story. It was 5 stars for me, absolutely 5 stars. The eyeball stuff was really gory. It could have gone further, but I think it stayed at a good amount to make it a kind of I think like a good horror light, or like a good entry a good entry level point for horror. And yeah, it was really good. It was a debut, and I will definitely check out books from this author in the future. Okay, so if you ever wanted a cross between the, what's it called, the cinnamon bun cafe, and the spell shop but with dragons, the baby dragon cafe, this is the one. This is the one you need to be picking up. So this came out in January, I think it was the 14th, and it is such a cutesy, cozy book. So we follow Saphira, who has recently set up a cafe with her grandmother's inheritance. Her grandmother raised her after her parents passed away, and she has set up this cafe that she's dreamt about for years. And she really wants baby dragons to be able to go into it, so it's called the Baby Dragon Cafe. So in this world, wealthy families own dragons, and particular breeds are often passed down through like their family names. And most establishments do not allow baby dragons in, because baby dragons, until they learn to control themselves, are quite a menace. They can't quite control their fire when it starts coming in, and they scratch things, and They are just absolute chaos. But she has always had this dream of having a baby dragon cafe because she is not from a wealthy family, so she'll never be in a position to own her own dragon. And this will allow her to be close to dragons and just love life. She quickly discovers that it costs a lot to have a cafe that allows baby dragons because the amount of damage they do, but for her it is well worth it. She then meets Aiden, who is from a wealthy family and has a baby dragon that has been hatched, and he kind of has his own thing going on in terms of he doesn't want the dragon, but he's unwilling to give it back to his family because it was a dragon egg that was left to him by his brother who has passed away. And he really struggles. He's struggling to connect with the dragon, his baby dragon Sparky. He's struggling to really, he doesn't want to bond with the dragon. The dragon's really struggling because they should be bonding with their trainers or their owners, etc. And he decides on a whim to hire Saphira to be his dragon trainer. And she has no experience in this role, but she needs the money, so she agrees to do it. And they get very close. She becomes, you know, like, I was going to say like this, a mum to Sparky. Yeah, she becomes like a mum to Sparky. She loves him, he loves her. They kind of end up like becoming a bit of a family unit, and then romance follows. And I really enjoyed this, and it didn't have the third act issue that happens in romance books. I thought it was going to be like his family not accepting her because she was of a lower station, because that was kind of hinted at throughout. But luckily they didn't go down that route. Like, his family really loved her from the start, and it was actually her within herself that thought that she wasn't good enough. It wasn't like his family making her feel that way, and they actually went out of their way to make her feel comfortable and feel a part of the family and stuff. So I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was very well written. I thought it was very well paced, and there's going to be at least 2 more books in this series that follow other establishments in this town. I think the town was called, like, I can't remember what the town was called now, but there's 2 other books at least that are coming in this series. There's the Baby Dragon Bakery and the Baby Dragon Bookshop, which will have their own kind of standalone relationships. Hey, you want to come up here? So yeah, it's just it was very much a, it's very much a cute romance, but it was, you know, it had dragons in it, baby dragons. What's not to love, basically? So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and I kind of breezed through it quite a lot as well. Okay, so our final count of episode 1 is I reviewed 7 books. 6 books I read in January, and 1 book I read at the end of December 2024, and I just needed to review it, so the review happened in 2025, and that one was The Eyes of the Best Part by Monica Kim. So at the beginning of the year, I had 117 books that needed to be reviewed, and my feedback ratio was at 32%. At the end of episode 1, I've reviewed 7 books. I have had 4 books approved. I now have a total of 114 books to read and review, and my ratio is at 35%. So we're getting there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me for episode 1 of Project 80%. How are you looking on your Netgalley feedback ratio? Please let me know in the comments where you currently stand. I would love to know, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye, friends.